Okay. All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. This is Ben Chiriboga coming to you with another One Firm webinar. We are very excited to get started today talking all about directory submissions. We're going to let everybody come in for another 2, maybe 3 minutes, but I am very excited to be speaking about this topic today as part of our One Firm marketing series here. And I am joined by Gina-Maria Tondolo, which is the founder, CEO of Lawrence, but we're going to get into that a little bit more. But I just wanted to say, Gina, how are you today?
Hi, thank you, Ben. Very much looking forward to our chat about the legal directory submission. It's my favorite topic.
Yes, it's
yeah.
It's one of my favorite as well. I think it's very interesting. I think that there's a lot of opinions about directory submissions that we're going to get into. But yeah, we're going to let a couple more people come in. How's it going today? I know you are are you in Vienna today?
I am in Vienna today, Austria, and flying this evening to Berlin, Germany. First time to Berlin. I'm really looking forward. Are there any people from Germany here on our webinar today? Raise your hand.
Yes, raise your hand. Let us know in the chat. We're going to be using the chat feature, maybe asking
Stephanie,
a poll or
hello, hi.
Hi, Stephanie. So nice to meet you. Yes. So that's surprising. Berlin traveling. How long's the flight? It's only about like an hour or so, right?
Yes, it's only about 1.5 hours or so. It's close. It's close. It's not that close if you go by Deutsche Bahn, especially. Sorry, Stephanie, to say Deutsche Bahn is not what you would expect in a country where precision and the punctuality usually is great. But Deutsche Bahn is not. I do love going by train, but this time I'll fly. It's quite far too. Yeah.
I agree with you. Over here in the U.S. we have the Amtrak system, and while America is known for its cars, I think, or at least that's America and Detroit and the highway systems and all of that. Yes, of course. The Amtrak is also a little bit slow, but I have to say, probably my best train experience ever was in Japan. I don't know if we have anybody who's in Japan or has been to Japan, but wow, those trains, they definitely run according to a schedule, and you can get everywhere on those bullet trains.
Awesome.
Very interesting. Yeah. Totally. So we're gonna let one more minute, let everybody come in. It looks like we have a full house today. We're coming into 23, over 100 and something people registered for this webinar. So I think everybody's pretty interested in directory submissions, and we're gonna get.
I think everybody's really feeling the pain.
Yes. So we're gonna get into solving some of those pains and thinking about it in a little bit of an interesting way. I think we're gonna take a look at the efficiency in terms of structured data versus unstructured data. I think we're going to see whether or not directories are even still
do we need
relevant. Yes, do we need them? And then how artificial intelligence and ChatGPT might actually help as well. So we're really excited. We're going to get started in one more minute, and then I'm going to go ahead and kick off. Gina, when you've had a long career in marketing, and we're going to go through that, but tell us about your first directory submission experience while we're waiting. Do you remember your first one?
Remember. I totally remember. I started in 2003 in a law firm headquartered in Vienna, and they already had offices in CEE. And the first thing that I found on my desk in marketing was a big book on legal directories, and they said, okay, we don't know what you should be doing in marketing. Here's a legal directory, read it. It was like this fat. Read it, we're in there, it's fabulous, and please make a submission. And I had no idea what it was. It was so boring. And then I saw the previous submissions, which by then, and this was a law firm of about 100 lawyers back then, was 3 pages, and it was bullet points only. There was just no questionnaire whatsoever. So I just made another few bullet points. I added, and that was it.
Wow, so interesting. Okay, so that's a great story to kick us off. I think we've come a long way since then, and the complexities of directory submissions from that. that. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get started? Hi, everybody. You are in the right place. This is another One Firm webinar with Lawrence and specifically Gina-Maria, who is the CEO and founder. We're going to be talking about the complexities of directory submissions. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to introduce also Emma. Emma is our event coordinator here at Nexl, and she will be watching the chat. So if you have any questions, just please go ahead and pop them in the chat, and Emma will read them out. We're also going to reserve 10 minutes at the end to answer any questions. So really excited. Please have some questions at the end. We'd love to hear from you. And to get started, maybe everybody maybe put in your questions that you'd like to think, or any topics that you want to cover about directory submissions, and we'd love to hear from you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Gina, do you want to go ahead and kick us off? You've had a long career in legal marketing and especially in directory submissions. So who is Gina? What is Lawrence? And you have a lot of other stuff. You really are an entrepreneur and a legal marketing doer. So introduce yourselves to everybody.
Yes, most of all, I'm an enthusiast, and I really love marketing. It kept me within a firm for more than 14 years, where I built the marketing department. And from then, I saw how many issues we have in law firms, how much data we have. When I left the firm was 550 people strong, more than 300 lawyers, more than 14 offices, multilingual, multicultural, and a lot of submissions. We had like 350 submissions per year. That was a lot. And my team was really exhausted all the time. And we were looking for solutions and we couldn't find anything. So that's why I left and I founded Lawrence. I thought it has to be better. It has to be, we have to be able to do it better and in an automated way. I mean, we always use the same information. So that's what I did. I started in 2017 with 2 firms, and and here we are already with the top firms in Austria, Switzerland, and Germany, and hoping to spread internationally soon as well.
So go ahead. I think that's really interesting. Before you get started in terms of the actual substance, why don't you tell a little bit about the journey from being a legal marketer, just very quickly, from legal marketer to starting a tech company, because you just jumped right over that, and I know we're going to get into the substance, but that's a big learning curve. Were you scared? What was the biggest surprise? I know that there's lots of legal marketers out there that always think about products.
That's true. Well, I have a business degree, and I never thought I would end up in a law firm. It really happened to me. I was young and I really needed the money. So I decided back then in 2003 to start working with Schönherr, and I thought it would be only for a year, and those years were like 14 years. I really loved it. It was really fun. I had a lot of expansion to do in Central Eastern Europe, opening offices every year, and really trying to develop the department into something that is really highly efficient, working always on the spot, etc. And so me and my team, we were always looking out for great tools, and we had a good budget. We could get anything that we wanted, but what we couldn't get was good experience management and something to do pitches or submissions, and that's why we started doing a little database on ourselves, but we weren't happy. The moment you launch something, you have to develop it further, and I thought it really needs full dedication to it, and I really wanted to do it. So I left, and I came back in through the door to the same firm with my project, and and they were my pilot customer. So that was great.
Wow. Okay, before you get into the substance, I just one last, because there's always a learning curve in terms of moving from a director, even if you are the CMO, it really becomes very different whenever you step into trying to manage a product and really get a product out into market. And even people who have a business mind, they're still surprised. Just tell us the one challenge, but fun challenge or learning and growth that you really had to go to start to sort of develop and bring a product to market?
Yeah. I think that this really one challenge which always sticks to my mind, and especially to the people who developed Lawrence, was when I started out. I found an IT partner, and we started out the project. And then I sat together with my developer, and the developer said, "Okay, Gina, can you please write the backlog now?" And I was like,
Yes, right.
"What? What's a backlog? What do I have to do?" I was desperate. And he showed me something. I was totally overwhelmed. But of course, once you start doing things, you get
Yes.
into it. So I learned how to write backlogs and how to do agile development, Scrum cycles, etc. So
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
I learned a lot every day. I'm not a
Yes.
CEO fallen out of the sky. I really learn daily. I have my challenges, my chores. Whenever I think, I grew somehow.
Right.
Next challenge on my table. But that's good.
Totally.
That's keeping me alive.
Yes, totally. Okay, wonderful. So let's get into legal directories, and these are some of the questions, some of the topics that we're going to go into.
Yeah. So what we are talking about a little bit is legal directories, and are they really worth the effort? I think law firms asking themselves that questions quite a bit. How do they actually work, the legal directories? What's the future of the legal directories, and what's the future of submission making? How are legal marketeers going to be able to cope, and what's coming to them? So let me start here a little bit with some terrible facts. One of the terrible facts is submissions are growing. They are growing in terms of practices. Now we have ESG, and we have LegalTech, and we have more details, and IFLR has introduced a new taxonomy we all are totally overwhelmed with. So the pages and submissions are growing. It's incredible. And with it, we have to see that in most firms, the submission work is mostly manual. I mean, we try to sketch out the way a submission takes within a firm, going back and forth, chasing up, trying to get the information until it becomes something that is actually confirmed and ready to go. What I really love, and I found this, it's by Lloyd Pearson, who basically made a calculation on how long it takes to prepare one legal directory submission. And he calculated about 20 hours. I mean, just if you have a short look on here, 30 minutes, you have to read it from the last year, you have to check out the last year's submission, you have to create a new version, you have to alert partners, get the information, chasing up, back and forth. That, for me, was always the biggest challenge, chasing up and getting people to answer my emails. They were hiding from me when I wanted to come in and, we have a new submission on the table. Please help us. No way. And 5 emails, 10 emails. I was really, trying to make the lives of lawyers easy, but it's not easy when you just simply don't know what's going on. And partners have to review, they have to select, they have to edit, they have to confirm. It goes back and forth, markups, etc. So 20 hours per submission. I think that's a pretty good calculation of Lloyd's. I really recommend it to every marketeer here. And with it, if you calculate, of course, we don't only have one submission. If you're a bigger firm, or even 20, 40 lawyers plus, they do have 20, 30, 100 submissions. We had really a lot of submissions. So we had 350 submissions per year. And if you count the amount of time that goes on submissions, especially the partner time, which has a price tag to it, we arrive in the hundreds of thousands of euros, and nobody ever looks at it or calculates it because it's natural, it's on top, it's like BD, it's always, something that, you don't really see these hidden costs. They're actually hidden costs. opportunity cost. So at the end of the day after every submission, we still have all this unstructured data. It's really everywhere. I mean, we get it, we collected it in our Word templates, maybe already spreadsheets, which is a bit better, but still, you still have to copy paste out of it. So we're left with still a big amount of answer and data, and it's growing also. That's growing every year. So these are quite terrible facts, I find. And and then the question is, who needs legal directories? Is anybody reading those legal directories? If you ask any counsel, what legal 500 chambers, not so sure. But the thing is, there are, especially if you come to the bigger corporates, they do take out those legal directories, and if they have to give decision and let them know why they chose this law firm or that law firm, they have to say, okay, they are tier 1. Also, if you're looking into legal directories from a different jurisdiction, you don't know anybody, you're looking into a legal directory. So the legal directories do have their readerships still. This is a study which I got from MD Communications. I'm not so sure whether the percentage is right, but it says at least that they are quite well read. And, law firms, they just have to step up to it. And, also when it comes to hiring, the young people want to work with the best, so they might check who's ranked. And the legal directories also have super Google rankings. Right. So sometimes that's what you find, especially also if you have a profile. And who else is checking is, of course, your peers and your competition, because they are looking at their rankings and they're looking at your ranking. So everybody always knows where you stand. And to me, the legal directories, I think the best thing that they actually help us is give us transparency of the market. And it wasn't there before, but imagine a life where you don't have any legal directories. There's so many law firms, and every law firm says, I am the best. I am the leading firm. It doesn't matter how small they are always leading. And how should any corporate counsel know what they really stand for and where they're really good? I mean, apart from the research and apart from the fact where if the rankings are correct, but it is an indication, and it helps you really understand the market if you have to, So
let me ask a question, Gina. This is, well, one, I've asked everybody in the audience, do you believe whether or not whether legal directories are actually relevant today? But it seems like the problem is that there's a lot of tension. On the one hand, it does seem like it drives some awareness and some understanding. At the other end, it's incredibly costly in terms of managing the process, and then whenever you give an opportunity cost. And then there's an unfortunate fact, which is they're increasing. That's kind of what I took away from this part. Now we're going to talk about transparency, and we're going to talk about the fact that it sort of holds and it gives more information than otherwise maybe would be available. But at the end of the day, I guess here's my question, this is like a way. On the one hand, it's very expensive to produce. At the other end, the ROI is very difficult. Whenever you were in a law firm, how did you balance this cost versus benefit analysis between the awareness versus the actual cost? Did you start to think strategically about how to balance this cost? Or that's the question.
Yes and no. The thing is, we had this discussion several times with the managing partner and the steering committee. So do we really want to take the whole effort of the legal directories? It costs time, money. But at the end of the day, it's good. It's good to have the data. And actually, we were quite happy in the marketing department because for the pitches, you need the same information. You know, if you pitch to a client and you want to sell your services, you also need to know what you have done in the past. And the legal directories actually, they helped us getting more detailed information. We used to get a one-liner, not more than that, and the rest we could, think, research, and check out what they did. So the legal directories, in our view, in the marketing view, was actually worth the effort. And to the lawyers, it's important. It's still very important because they finally are also seen. Nobody wants to renounce on their rankings and their awards, and so and they have. Um, the directories are quite smart about it. They created a great product, and the lawyers just love it. Those who are not greatly ranked don't like it so much, but the ones in tier 1 and the star individuals, etc., they would never give up on their legal directory. So that's why I think they will be staying.
Yes, totally. There's definitely a very strong psychological and social dimension there as well, above and beyond just the marketing. So why don't we go into transparency, because this is one of your key takeaways, I think, for this.
Yes, to me, I think the market needs transparency, and you need it. I always, when I try to explain legal directories to somebody who doesn't know the legal industry, it's so specific. I always tell them it's sort of rating agencies. We have a rating agency for law firms, and it creates a sort of transparency. And I think customers need this transparency because there are really a lot of firms out in the market, and you don't know if they're any good or not. And it's like you have these client reviews, like the doctors have it, and on Google review you have reviews, and when you buy something on Amazon, you've got the reviews, and you check the reviews, and then you buy or you don't buy. So that helps, and I think same goes for law firms.
Okay, wonderful.
Our Amazon review. So, but I think the future of legal directories is going to be really interesting. Let's have a look at this one here. I mean, the transparency leads to something. I think they're here to stay. This is my personal opinion. I think, I think they will have to change a bit more. We see directories are now investing more into their websites, their CRM systems, where they give the marketing departments, more profile and more options to present themselves on the website. Obviously, also, getting a good buck out of the firms as well. They are very creative in creating new products all the time. So, I mean, I don't know, law firms are already spending a lot of time for the submissions, but at the same time, a lot of money for the profiles, for the chapters, for individual profiles. They are quite smart. And these directories, which are the unpublished sections of chambers, which I personally think is pretty good. I mean, it's good to understand. It's quite expensive, but at least once in a blue moon, it's good to have. It's sort of a client satisfaction analysis. I always saw it that way. And and I think data boom, the legal directories, they are actually handling a lot of data. And I find it very surprising that still, and I think all of them, IFLR, Legal 500, Chambers, you name it, the research is done by human intelligence. That's good, but really, all of it? Really?
Yes.
Who does the tier 1, tier 2? I'm not so sure on how good these rankings then really are, and if it wouldn't be better that the research was also automated, at least in some parts. I think machines could do a good calculation if you have a bit of different criteria. So far, it's what the client says, what your competitor says, and what you say.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I think that's gonna change too. I think they really want it to be different. And I think one thing which is very important, and this we see coming up fast towards us law firms, is the legal directories do not want any more unstructured data. So in Germany, one of the legal leading directories is Juve, and they have started out already. So you cannot just upload anymore a Word document or send by email, past times, but you have to put it online into the research portal, so it goes into their database. And that's smart because they have got so much data coming in. And the rest, we see IFLR already asking for CSV files, so Excel sheets, yeah, a bit more structured, obviously, than Word doc is. And the rest will be following. I think it's only a matter of time until everybody will ask law firms to submit more structured data, CSV and JSON in the future. So I'm quite interested to see when that is going to happen, but it's going to happen for sure.
Yeah. Let me jump in on, before we get into the future of submissions work, very interesting, because you already talked a little bit about how will the work of submissions change, and that's where we're going to go next. Let's talk a little bit about the future of legal directories, just really quickly. One, I put a question in the chat. How do you believe that legal directories will change? New products, new type of analysis? Will it be end user? Will it be different types of inputs? All very interesting. But whenever, Gina, maybe you can say a little bit more about, is there a trend in the way that legal directories are starting to create new products? Because I think that's interesting. What do you think? I mean, just give us, maybe for those of us who don't pay attention to the legal directories every single day, what are the new types of products that are coming out? And then is there any trend, or is there any logic behind those types of projects based on the fact that they have more and more structured data to work with?
So I think one of the trends that we are seeing is, I always thought, dear chambers, we're giving you so much data. And then when finally the rankings come out, and I have a big law firm and I have so many quotes and rankings, why don't you give me the data as well in a structured form? Because I'm sure you have it that way. And and here comes another product of chambers, very smart. I think you can buy it meanwhile in a CSV file. So you can at least, upload it and do your own graphs. Have you come up or fallen down? I think there the directories will be doing a bit more of that sort of analysis, because they already have the data of the firms if you pay for it. And other products, I think I'm still surprised that the other directories haven't copied Chambers yet. This unpublished. Before it was Chambers Confidential. Now I think it's still Chambers Unpublished. And the Chambers Unpublished gives you every remark, even the bad ones. And I've read a lot of bad ones. And I'm so surprised sometimes that lawyers put forward really contexts which are not that great friends of them, but you see it in these publications, and I think that is interesting because you don't only want the good stuff. You really want to understand where you're not that great, because that's the only way where you grow also as a firm. So
agreed. Okay, so we're going to go into our last section here about submission. So this is the inputs. You talked about a little bit about the outputs, but for anybody who's just come in, before you get into here, let's summarize to date or where we're at. So the first part, we really talked about legal directories. Are they worth it or not? And you gave the opinion that while they are very costly at the end of the day, they do have value, specifically in transparency in a very opaque market, a very fractured, opaque market. They do provide transparency. But then you gave the practical answer, which was they're probably not going anywhere anyway because of how dug in they are into the social psychosocial economic complex of law firms and the law firm market. Then you went into where you think directories are going to go and some of the new products. And now we're sort of going to get into the actual submission of the work. So this is from the perspective of the marketers, the lawyers, and the law firm submitting into these directories. So that's where we're at. Let's I guess go into it. Well, do you agree that's where we're at? And I guess we're going to go from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
That's where we are. And so I think legal directories, they are here to stay. And that means that we have to put up with the submission work. And that also means let's try to do this smarter and better. And here comes ChatGPT and AI, and I'm very excited about it. I love ChatGPT. I do have to say, I of course use it not for submissions. I use it a little bit for creative writing, formulating text, etc. I think it's fabulous, and it is quite disruptive in sort of ways. So in especially writing, and we don't know what it will do to the legal industry. Of course, it has its limits. Of course, we have to see about data security, etc. But I was curious, and I asked ChatGPT, so should law firms participate in legal directories, and what he would answer to me. And he said, yeah, actually it can be beneficial. However, it is important to know that it can be time consuming. This guy is so smart. ChatGPT, you're so smart, and require significant effort and resources. So law firms should carefully consider costs and benefits. Yeah. And next thing I asked, do you know about submissions directory like Chambers IFLR? And he said, yes, as an AI language, I'm familiar with those. They are widely recognized. Okay, so he knows those directories. Good for you, smart guy. And then he said again, it can help law firms and lawyers raise their profile and attract new business. However, the submission process can be rigorous and again require significant effort and attention to detail. I thought that is great. I mean, it's out there. I mean, how does this machine know these things, this AI? Yeah. So and I asked more. I said, and that's what I thought. Wouldn't it be great if ChatGPT could fill out the submission? Can you fill it out? Can you fill out the latest Chamber submission to me? And then he said, no, I'm sorry. I am not able to fill out. And of course, I mean, I was thinking the same thing, because it requires really a deep understanding of your law firm's practices and the work, etc. And most of the work is totally confidential. I mean, there's nothing out there where such a machine could get information on it, so it could, write something together. So unfortunately, people, the message of today is GPT is not going to do our submissions, but I think could definitely help, at least with some write-ups. And what he also said, and I really like this one, God, ChatGPT, you're amazing. It said, it's recommended that you consult with a legal marketing professional or a chamber submission specialist who can assist you. See, I mean, Guys, we are really important there. Without us, no submissions, because it's actually just too much work. But yeah, so ChatGPT basically not yet. Who knows? I mean, I'm already considering something like that for Lawrence. Maybe in the future we can use some AI to get to generate at least some of the texts. But yeah, and this actually leads me to what we need for submissions and what the legal directories will be asking us for. I mean, the only way we can get faster is if we have structured data. And what is structured data? And I'm using this legal data story. I love it. I also saw it on Stanford University page. It was out there in LinkedIn. I'm sure many of you know it. And it shows us the amount of data. So the first pile, that's just where we basically stand. And then we try to sort it and put it into different submissions. So it's a bit sorted, but arranging it, not really. And we are really in a very, in a very primary state of our data. And right now, we are working for the data. I mean, if we don't have any tools and creating those submissions, we are working very hard to get the data and to put it into Word files so it remains in a pile. And instead of the data working for us. So I always thought that shouldn't be that way in times like this. So yeah, and how do you get structured data? I mean, let's start sorting it out. I mean, 80 to 90% of the data is really unstructured in law firms. And I think that law firms are really under technologized. They are only starting. LegalTech has become like super sexy a few years ago. Law firms are getting a bit tired because they got some systems and now they are totally overwhelmed with implementation, with these different kind of things that are out there, and they don't get things together and the trainings, etc. So they have to be careful. But in our field, in the marketing field, with the growing data of all the experience, we need to get a database. I think that's really my key message out to everybody here. If you're still using a very good SharePoint, that's great. If your submissions are well structured in SharePoint, that's good too. If you're already the next step, Excel, much better. But really something to get and to prepare for the future is get a database, because Excel is not. Excel is not a database, and it breaks after 1,000 lines or so. And if you send an Excel sheet to a lawyer, they don't like it. It's just not what they want. So get a database. Really, the database will help you structure the information, and once it's structured, you can actually start using it, and you can start implementing processes. I mean, you always have to be a superhero somewhere, and you have to fly around in the law firm to get all those bits and pieces of information. And once you have a database, it's good to start implementing processes. So there is a signing, okay, data available. Let us know. Who lets us know? Giving out responsibilities so we actually get the data. Who puts it into the database? You know, what do we do? Do we enrich it in the database? So the processes can only actually start once you have something like a database. And, you know, we want to go towards automation, but we're still not there yet. And then once you have more or less a process in place, you can get into a workflow. And I really like the Word workflow. We want to get in the
Yes.
flow, really, of where the data flows in, and we can float on bringing it into submissions, into pitches, into CVs, wherever we need it. But still, the most important thing, get it structured, and because only then you will be able to arrive in a Hall of Fame. And for me, I think it's very difficult for a law firm, especially if they are bigger, if they still work with Stone Age tools like Word and Excel. I mean, you have to handle really a lot. You have to be fast, and you have to put things into different documents all the time, and it's difficult if you're not structured and if you haven't prepared it in such a way, and if you don't have a tool to help you. And actually there is a tool out there, which I'm gonna show you a little bit also. So basically this is my commercial window, but anyway, I would just show you what a good database where you have dynamic data, which is connected and which helps you automate the whole process, can actually do for you. And this is what actually my vision for Lawrence was. I was looking at all this data. I even had a person who was only in charge of the experience Excel sheet. Later on, we did have an SQL database for it. We built it ourselves. But obviously the whole workflow behind it wasn't there, and that's what Lawrence does. Lawrence has its own workflow, and we streamline the whole process. I mean, we come from the yellow section, from the manual work, and we can streamline it where a submission is created in Lawrence, and Lawrence already automatically compiles all the matters which are relevant to a submission, say with the referees, he counts the referees, and then he fills out automatically the sheets, and the task of a partner should only be, okay, confirm or reject the matter, and then strategically say which one in which order should be where. And that's basically it. And the biggest task and challenge of marketing is then not, a week or 2 weeks before submission deadline, sleep in the law firm because you have to do all this work, but to have an ongoing process where you get the information, where you get the data of all those references. And I'll show you here a little bit. This is an excerpt from Lawrence. You see here the deals are just collected. It's filled out automatically. Lawrence knows exactly what is confidential information, what is publishable information. And since we have the data in our experience database, we can fill it out. And the convincing thing, it's a one single source of truth. And you work in one document, and that makes all the difference. And the chasing up goes through Lawrence, and you don't have to send any emails anymore because it goes directly into the tool. And so lawyers see what they have. We see what they have and what they did, and it's much easier that way.
Can I ask a very quick question? This is fantastic. Can you maybe talk a little bit about experience databases? And there was a question about getting the data from experience databases. Experience databases sort of pull from CRMs. Can you talk a little bit about how those three work together?
Yeah. So basically we have up there, we call it Matters, the experience database. And what we do, we have interfaces, and we bring in synchronized data from the matter management of lawyers. So when a file is created, who's working on the file, so what's the team, which practice, when the file was started. So we get already the first bit of information, which is usually in other systems that we don't use in marketing. And it's like Agora, Your Expert, KMS, so all of these systems. And the second very important system that we connect to is the CRM system, because we have, of course, companies, we have users, we have the referees. Great CRM systems like Nexl is something that, you know, connects and also synchronizes their data directly into Lawrence, and we can work with it. I think it's also good to have a tool which is built in a way that it takes a lot of information from a lot of systems where the data is curated by the masters. So HR has a lot of user data. So we connect to Active Directories, and the CRM system is usually the master for all the contacts and what's happening and who's in contact with whom, etc. And and also with the potential matters, we have a potential matter section where we bring in this matter information, and from there you promote your deal to the real matter section, so to the whole experience where it's actually usable. Before it remains potential, because maybe it's not, maybe it's just a file of 5,000 euros and nothing marketable, so you can forget about it, but the rest, at least we don't forget it anymore, and it's like a to-do list for everybody.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That was really, really helpful, I think, to understand that flow so that you can get into a Lawrence flow. Again, it's really about the data and getting a hold of your data. And truthfully, the machines are so much better at dealing with data than the human beings, because they can structure it in such a fast way. I think we have. Well, I'll check in with Emma. Emma, any questions? I think there was a question from Lindsay, but Emma, any questions that we want to get at before we sort of start to wrap up here? Anything that needs to be answered?
Yeah, so Lindsay had a question on whether there are any law firms using bid management software for directories. Not sure if you have any words on that one.
Sorry, well, I'm not sure I understand the questions. Use big management software for directories?
Yes, that was are there any law firms using bid management software for directories?
What would be big management software? Like SAP?
Like
similar to Pitch Perfect.
Similar to Pitch Perfect. I'm sure that the global firms, they have their systems, and the really big firms usually start building their own little databases. The thing is, when you build your own database as a law firm, so did we back then at Schönherr, you start to become a developer, and you have to continuously develop your own software, and you're not getting out of it, and you have to maintain it, and you have to update it. So it's a big job, actually, and you always have to check out what the other directories are doing. So it really pays off to get a tool like Lawrence into your firm. And I think every law firm, and we have big firms like CMS and Swiss firms, etc. But we even get smaller firms with 20 lawyers or so who want the tool because they want to be prepped for the future. These are usually spin-offs from big firms, so they know and they have worked with great tools, and they are the ones, you know, they understand the importance of getting everything in order and tidy.
Yes. Well, I think Hugo also, and Lindsay, thank you for clarifying. Really appreciate that. Hugo Tapia had a really great question about how it's possible to see a live demo of Lawrence. I know Gina's going to get to that at the end. So why don't we wrap up and maybe get to the end, and then Gina can talk a little bit about how you can take a look at Lawrence if you're interested in getting into the flow of directory submissions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ben. Just here, finally, just a quick look at what Lawrence actually is. It's not only a submission tool, it has experience, which is at the core of the tool, really. It's very, very structured and easy to put in. We wanted to create something that is likable and that actually lawyers also like, where they can go in directly and give us their info. We have a whole CV management section and of course pitches and proposals. It all goes hand in hand. We all use the same data. So that's where we are. And yes, please, if you want a live demo, come and meet us, contact us, and and we'll give you. Our team will give you a live demo of Lawrence. Just write us an email, find us on our website, write us. Yeah, we're happy to show you what we can do. We're very proud of it.
Wonderful. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. If I see that we don't have any other questions, I'll just open it up and see if anybody has some questions. Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask Gina any questions here. If you prefer to just ask it versus talking. I think I have one reflection, Gina, while we're waiting for maybe some people, which is, at the end of the day, you kind of made the point that directories are always going to come up with new products that are going to give a little bit more insight, going to paint a better story. They have so much data. So really directories aren't going away because they'll just continue to innovate in terms of the product. That basically means that there'll be more submission work. And that's where Lawrence sort of squarely sits, which is helping with curate that experience, and then of course putting it into these different submissions and proposals as you're going to continue to see more things that you can basically submit to. That's kind of my reflection. It's what other, you made the suggestion, here's the question, the first is the structured data, but maybe you can talk a little bit about what do you need to be, if you're a leader in your law firm, what do you need to be prepping and talking about whenever it comes to directory experiences to get people just into the mindset that this is important and this will sort of continue? Let's, in other words, talking about the process side, but talking more about the people side. Do you have any tips around that?
I think you don't really have to convince lawyers to remain in the directories. If once they're ranked, once they're top ranked, they are also there to stay. They won't go out of it, and they are very proud of it. And I think again they've hit a vanity spot of an industry which otherwise is very, they're always in the back. Sure, the big deals are happening and they are the lawyers. They have to do the background work. They have to do the contracts, and nobody ever checks the contract unless there is a problem. And then you can actually see if you had a good lawyer or not. I think they are happy about the light that they get. I think what the future will definitely bring is better research. I hope better research results. I mean, sometimes I really wonder, God, we give you so much information, and then you give me 3 lines about my practice. Really, Legal 500? Where is the rest? Can't believe it. So I hope that, these directories can do better. I mean, we all know how they work. We all know who sits there. Young researchers, not in Juve though. In Germany, they have this legal directory called Juve, and they are really going to the top and to the bottom of information. And the people, they stay there for a long time. They are like great journalists, and they do big write-ups, so you really understand what they see, and obviously you have to talk to them too, and they have to give you understanding, but so coming, they will be staying. And so my heartfelt wish for everybody is get yourself prepped for the future. It's going to be more work. It's going to be more data. Get a hold of your data and try and make the data work for you. I mean, you're in marketing. You don't want to suffer every submission round because it's repeats and repeats and repeats, and you have every year the same thing, the same cycles of submissions. Legal 500 in Europe, nobody goes on vacation in August. It's terrible. Petition.
Wow.
It's,
oh my
can't they
goodness.
even change the date for that? But yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, that's a really good place to stop. Let's get off the hamster wheel. I don't know how that translates to
Hamster
everybody,
wheel is
but the
good,
hamster wheel is good. That's probably. I have a prediction about what directories will do. I think directories will combine their structured data with ChatGPT to actually allow people just to type and generate like if you're a general counsel, you will just be able to go into Chambers and just query Chambers using ChatGPT, and it'll provide you with personalized answer. That's interesting.
Yeah,
That would be
maybe
very
that would be cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Who's the go-to lawyer in Switzerland?
Exactly right. No reading anymore. Just ask ChatGPT. That's my suggestion.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, I think that this was fantastic. We don't have any other questions. I think Gina did a fantastic job. So, Gina, thank you so much for your time, for sitting down for another One Firm webinar today, all around the complexities of law firm directory submissions, and the complexities will continue as the law firm directories continue to offer new products that apparently the market really wants. So, Gina, any final words that you want to leave everybody with besides get off the hamster wheel?
Good luck for your next submissions, everybody. Have fun. And thank you very much, Ben. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Emma, Sophia, Gina. There's another Gina out there. Thanks very much. And see you soon.